Botswana is amongst the top 10 Africa in terms of suicide rates. Africa tops. You see why I'm interested in this thing is because why do we just sit there when this thing is killing our people? What I found was, even if you make money, I was like, I've made the money, but so what? I mean, I don't know if you guys know the founder of Uber, multi-million guy, what. I don't know if you've seen his podcast. He was actually crying, saying he's never been so unhappy. He says he's made the money, but he's got no friends. Simple thing. And he cried. So there's something insidious about progress in the modern day. And guys, we're not saying there's any problem with money. There's a certain level where money does not add any happiness to your life. In the States, the research has been done that it's actually around $45,000 a year. When you earn more than that, it makes no difference. Know thyself. What makes you tick? But you can't discover what makes you tick unless you show up, baby. Guys, the world is so bad that there are people now that are being coached how to make friends. There are people that don't know how to make friends anymore. We've got all the science, all the technologies, but people are being taught how to make friends. Isn't that crazy? A global loneliness. Hey, people are lonely, but can you believe that there are people who say they can spend 2 weeks without speaking to anybody? I mean, that's 2 weeks, yes, according to statistics. This is inhuman.
Welcome to the GrowthWell Podcast, where we tap into a well of knowledge, innovation, and leadership to fuel Africa's growth. Here, we explore thought-provoking insights and expert knowledge that empower individuals and businesses to thrive across the continent. Whether it's personal development or professional advancement, our conversations inspire action and impact. This is GrowthWell, where ideas flow and growth begins. Let's dive in.
So guys, this is I usually start with a dance. Yeah, I want music. So this is a bit sobering because, as has been said, I'm an entrepreneur by profession. Have started a couple of companies, been in corporate. So by and large, some of you who know class structures, I get there is the lower class, there is the middle class, there is the upper class. Yeah, so I classify myself to have entered the middle class. And when you are in business, there's the challenges of a business, but there are also benefits of business. So when you're in business, there are times when you make money. And as I was making the money, and as times I remember one time, I think I was about 45, and I was like, there's no death in the family, life is good. We're having 3 meals a day. Remember, in 1970, there was no warm shower, guys. Do you know that? So that's where we're coming from. So I was really appreciative. Why are things working so well for me? And I always said there's going to be a time in life when all those things will not be there. Like later on, a couple of years ago, I lost my dad, I lost my mother. 3 weeks ago, I was burying my aunt. So those unfortunate things do happen in life, and we're going to be all ready for those things. But back to entrepreneurship, what I found was even if you make money, I was like, I've made the money, but so what? Isn't that interesting? And I've listened to all these I don't know if you guys know the founder of Uber. Uber here, multi-million guy, what. I don't know if you've seen his podcast. He was actually crying on the podcast, saying he's never been so unhappy. He says he's made the money, but he's got no friends. Simple thing. And he cried. He's lost his friends. Now he's trying to catch up with his sister. He's trying to call back his friends. So there's something insidious about progress in the modern day. And why I want to talk to you as young people, and I see we also have elders here because they've got kids and they've got nieces and everything. There is a crisis going on around the world, and I want us to start seeing how we can correct this. And that's the spirit of today, because this country is beautiful. This country is beautiful, but and then I want us to, you'll see at the end of the presentation, I'm actually saying, can we all see what we can do as an action group Because in the UK, when they found this thing happening, they set up what they call Action for Happiness. I'm a member of Action for Happiness, where they found the people who think the same. We are fed up with all this nonsense of people who are cynical. But let's start a movement of people who are interested in creating a better world. And that's what they call Action for Happiness. And I'm going to appeal to you at the end of the presentation, can we find something for bots in Africa? More. Sure, baby. All right. I like that. Okay. So I don't know if it's a bit bright here. Can you see it? Are we able to reduce the lights here so that the slides can come sharper? Okay. So this is what I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover some intros. And a little bit about my experience, and then I'm going to depress you a little bit and talk to you about the 5 regrets of the dying, about what people regret when they die, so that you can look back, because we are all in the end going to end up somewhere. Okay, global happiness trends globally in Botswana. You can influence your own happiness, your set points, checking yourself how happy am I. So those are the things that we're going to check. And then why happiness is important. Happiness at work, at some stage, you'll all be working. I don't know how the environment is like. I don't know if I have any lecturers here where it's actually conducive to happiness at work. Like what? Yeah, we make sure, because it's been proven by neuroscientists, or you cannot achieve peak performance in whatever you do unless you're happy, unless you're having joy. More. Yeah, so that's the element of it. And then Action for Africa Happiness, that's what I was talking about. Then you can wrap up this. Next slide, please. So first of all, about Inoli, it's been said about Inoli. So this is the baby that I created many years ago. Now we are like almost a quarter of a century, 25 years old as a business. It's been said a few African countries. And currently we have about 40 employees or so. Actually one of the, if not the largest consulting firm in Botswana. So we compete with your Deloitte, your KPMGs, all these big firms, and we try to be the home of trained citizen consultants that can make a difference in the market. And we're looking for really top talent they can work with an environment that's got vibe, that we can dance. Okay, but thing. Where is so let's so we've got 2 employees here who work for us. So let's have a check again. But I never soup. Okay. So yeah, and then we have an academy, and then we also do digital consulting where we help companies to keep up with the technologies in the world and see how they can up their game in terms of scaling. Next one. Okay. So why I thought I would tell you a little bit of my story is because Lynn and I discovered this thing almost by accident. And also some of the stuff that I can share with you can also, maybe you can pick some of the elements for your own growth as a person. Okay. So first of all, I grew up like any other Motswana. I always say some of us parallel the old and the new. Because this is the homo ki diste di pudi ke le moshanya ra tsamaya ka nyawele nyala itse nyawele hore keng tsamaya ka nyawele ho disa ke bereka go lengwa ko gae. And so I've had that and sometimes I tell people what I actually miss that environment. There was something calm. I always argue with my friends because guys, there was something peaceful. You know, ke ba haska isa gore my ntatemogolo na bidio ntatemogolo ra moduma ono ko barolo farm seko ene re ha go tlhabile khoma ale tla di sala go tlhaba khoma ha tlhaba khomo tebe go buiwa, the neighbors will come ba ta go bua. The things that I remember vividly is how khomating e tlebe segelelwa ka dirwe la ditse dirwe se ya no se rwe la itse mokoto le thupa gore ke mo khomong ka pore batla le tseneng me gape tsana. Okay, so when I was 7, 8 years old, so I remember seeing men and women and plastic all disappearing. That's how beautiful the sharing was. The screen fence, you don't even talk to your neighbor. This is how bad the world has become. And I can even tell the story of how these things came about. Because people thought it was a big thing to have a bota. The screen nonsense. I get the stop nonsense. Screen wall. How look now? It's not square like a mouth. How look screen wall. For me, it's an unfortunate because now you don't talk to your neighbor anymore. The kids don't play with each other anymore. So I grew up in that environment, and then I was one of the students that was very good at school. Fortunately, it's because my mother was a teacher. How long when I'm mistress? I think a lot of people are successful. I can go to Pakola Pim Comana Bala. How Macadu Gazababa Squille, Copa, Ring to Macadu Maseven. So I was A's all the way from 7 to from 3 to from 5, and I became an engineer. And when and the other thing that's important is that please, as a young person, show up. If I can show up, it means when I was young, 3, I was a scout boy. I was a scout jagger. The cab, the period time. I was a scout boy. Get some good dumbbells. Like these dumbbells. Hey, I used to play dumbbells in the days. Okay, so dumbbell, my sister Nelly, baby, girl guys, and my sister was a girl guys. So I was involved. And then when I went to the secondary school, I played tennis. I was one of the top 4 tennis players in Botswana. So I was very athletic. Like when I used to represent Botswana, Samakobo, Zimbabwe, playing tennis. And it was absolute fun. That's how I was first exposed to an aeroplane. So those are during the 80s and so forth. So I showed up. And then schooling, when I went into Form 4, from 5, at Lopsec, I became the president of the entertainment committee. Even though I was also president of the tennis club. So and also during my secondary school days, I was also a break dancer. So I don't want to So, hey, so I can't It's interesting because I remember Form 2. Form 1, Form 2, GSS. So we had a breakdance competition. Interestingly, it was hosted by UB. One of my first competition was the UB hall at the time, full of students. Form 2. And I was competing and I got position 2. Breakdance, spinning, all that kind of jazz. That one. So as the hip hop days. So you can see I was involved. I was involved with everything. And then after that, we came here, UB, BSc Part 1, went to the UK to do engineering. Engineering was not very common here. And then there again, represented school in tennis, played B basketball. I became the president of the African Caribbean Society, basically the black people in the university. That one. Yeah, so it was all fun. And I've got 4 kids, and I would say, get involved. You meet people. that's the most interesting one. So one time, what I've been meeting what the president of the society, mo university, University of Southampton, UK. So yeah, I'm papistele, le monyana kiyo. Upunitse dinko, upantani. Yeah, no, wouldn't go up Balin. Keep it came with the Netse Hung Katimana, Tonalaba, Palitzola. So Cantilla and Tari, yeah. No, I represent the gay and lesbian society. Can't talk. Hey, no, guys, this is 1991, no, 92. That one. So imagine Gizo go baron farm cycle. Torlum farm say like you put him at ferry, you are there some lynch Yan. So yeah, Munyana and home and I guess what? I can she's from a minority. Then like it's all from? So I expect that comradeship, baby. Or the comrades are more mountain. So I'm a bit shocked because I know it's so friendly. Naga some but it was a big lesson. Now we became friends, by the way. And also it exposed me to diversity. How beautiful. And it couldn't have happened to me unless I showed up. So show up in different spaces. And then you find that life is actually not so bad. And then another thing, the last one, tends showing up. So I can go school. I found out what can I do during the holidays instead of coming to Botswana? Then I found out you can actually apply to different countries to do what they call summer camps. Like these summer camps. So I can apply. What's the internet? Like it's apply. So I apply. Again, I was a tennis player. So they accept me in a summer camp in New York State, USA, where I went and spent 3 months looking after kids and also coaching tennis and meeting all sorts of people. It's called Kusha Sports Academy for them that went to Google it. Man, I've never had so much such fun. I was fit because I can never come as youth. I played a bit of basketball, but I was basketball. I was almost dunking. That's how fit I was at that time. Like just slam dunk I get. Aha. So that's how good I was. And it was so, and then we had coaches from Russia, from the States. I had a little kid I was looking after, 8-year-old young boy from Japan. It was a rich people's camp, So again, it was a beautiful thing. But what I saw there, and what was really beautiful was, Kante, I really love kids. That's why I had such a ball. One of the stories I was telling me was how good Africa is. So I used to tell them what Africa, about, do you have traffic lights? Like, no, we actually don't have traffic lights. Guess what we use? We use ostriches at traffic. So wow, Councillor, that's so cool, baby. So all these stories are fun. So, but the important thing is right now, if you leave me with kids, I am in cloud 9. And this is spirit of, I'm going to talk more about it, know thyself. What makes you tick. But you can't discover what makes you tick unless you show up, baby. Show up in places. I still regret what I had university. In this international university, there's so many things that you can do. Because I still regret what I should have learned how to play guitar. I actually studied Spanish language. You did freely. I could be a student. I think you did it for 2 weeks. Actually, I was in Chemis. South America or Spain and be able to speak in the language. So I just thought I'll share these stories just to emphasize and share with you. Please, in life, show up and life will be better for you. Okay, so this is just to show you some of the stuff that I even do today in terms of showing up. You can see a picture there. This is me with some friends in the Makadi, having fun some years ago. This is me here playing with lions. This is, I'm also a farmer. And you know why I decided to do entrepreneurship and also have a different type of business, which is farming. It was not really farming. It was being close to earth, to nature. So you have to hack your life for things that you think will work for you. Also to expose my kids to the earth. So about the one of my sons yeah, so this is very important for me, and these are the things that I do. You can see this is Moremi Gorge, where I was doing some adventure stuff. So just so it shows you. And the other thing is that I used to attend this strategic coach. It's an entrepreneurship coaching program. The other thing is, if you choose a space that you want to do, make sure you do it very well. Go out of line. Don't sleep if it needs to be, so that you master So the fact that I decided to be an entrepreneur, I looked for the best entrepreneurial programs in the world. And one of them is called Strategic Coach and is right there in Toronto in Canada. And since 2015, I've been going there 3 times a year. You can imagine how much money we are building a company, but it was important to me. Because for me, it's not the nice Range Rover. It is the learning. Learning about things. I'm there, baby. That's my type of scheme. So that's my type of scheme. So it's very important to know those elements that really talk to you. So those are the things that I just wanted to show what we experience. So with this entrepreneurship program, there every time I go there, I meet about 60 other entrepreneurs from Northern Europe, from Canada, from all over the world. We go there, we get coached by this guy, Dan Sullivan. He's one of the top coaches, entrepreneurs. So every time I share stories, I tell them about, the other day I was telling them about what we had a lion which was torturing our cattle. Komoraking, Kosenfeld. That's the area where we farm our cattle. What a lion. What a lion. Is that your business? Yes, it's my business. Are you saying lions are eating away your business? I said, yes, that's exactly. These guys were baffled. You know why? Because that's unheard of in that side of the world. And this is the thing, guys. The world is not looking for you to look like them. They're looking for you to offer something different. Please put it together for that. Put it together for that because it's a problem. It's a problem. Guys, Africa is not waking up because we are busy trying to imitate those guys. And I know them because I went with Botswana. They are trying to look like those people. Miriri alona, dinkosi alona, everything. Trying to look like those people. Hey, they laugh at us. People ask me, well, how did you change from... I grew up being called Michael. Remember, I guess that was my name from church. And also from Neketele Tsuka, that Michael, Micha, and so on. So when I was doing first year at Southampton, how the first year I go pub. So I went to the pub, the housing and the so this young man, 18 years old, yeah, Michael. Yeah, I'm Michael. Really? You mean you don't you have schools? Don't you have schools where you come from? I mean, how many miles? I said, no, it's 8,000 miles. You came all the way here for a school, And then the last thing that he asked was like, why are you called Michael? And I said, yeah, we are Christians. And yeah, but I mean, Michael, I thought it was an English name. You said you are from Africa, from some place called Botswana. So all that clicked in my mind to say, that's why sometimes they really take light of you guys because we even take their names. Bo Emmanuel, bo Patrick, bo mang. Go na le maina a mantela bo Rebaone, bo Senkang, bo Tonto BC. Beautiful names. No, you should. I mean, all my nieces, all my nephews, all my kids. Some of them have actually thrown away their English names because I say this is part of who you are. The pride that you are. And it's not that easy. I mean, my mom never really liked it because now that pizza, so she really liked the name Michael. But I told her, no, Wabona was my middle name. So now I took Wabona and made it the main one so that I get known for it. And actually made a point. When I was working in the mine, the general manager even knew that, hey, you don't want to be called Michael, you want to be called Wabona. So he actually practiced and made sure that Wabona becomes the name. So this is the book where we are now telling the whole story of the part of what I've been talking about has been captured. And the spirit here is again, let's capture our stories. More. So I'm busy writing a book. It will be launched next month. So it will be on Amazon and it will be available to everybody online. And please just save some money so you can support us and also get to know a bit about growing a company from an African context and also based on your background of how you grew up, how it influenced the way you behave later in life. So that's what I try to capture here. Talking about GDP, what really acted me into going into this thing of happiness science is because I saw in Botswana. Botswana is one of the best economic performing countries in Africa. I get that Dumalan at whatever $7,000 per capita, and it's in the top 3 or whatever it is. Now, what was amazing was that even though we're doing well material-wise, we're doing well money-wise, but there's something happening to our society that's not right. So I start questioning, is it all about money? And this is something that we're going to visit this. And then the other thing is that the world is actually getting better and better in many fronts. People are looking more beautiful. There's abundance of music. There's this, there's fun, everything is available. But the mental health is going the other way, which is what's shocking lots of people. There's a book that I like throwing books around, so be prepared. So there's a Professor Steven Pinker. He wrote a book called The Better Angles of Our Nature. And in that book, he just depicts the story of how the world is actually much, much less violent, a lot more peaceful. People used to be violent. You know that just in the 1500s, in the UK, you get your head chopped off in public. Do you know that, eh? The Ku Klux Klan, I mean, the world used to be extremely... So today you don't get those. So the world is actually better in many fronts. And this is what Professor Steven Pinker captures in this book in terms of how violent we were as a society over the last centuries. So the issue is, why are we in this state? And what the last 50 years, the science of psychology, and I know that a lot of psychology students here, is that the brain can change. Isn't that beautiful? You know, the discovery that actually you can change the brain. The brain is malleable. All these over 1 trillion nerves in the brain, it's very complex, but you're able to maneuver and actually change it. And one of the most famous studies is by this, who's heard about the London cab studies? The cab drivers in London. Oh, wonderful. Are you guys psychology students? Oh, but psychology students went about too late. Okay. It's one of the global examples to show that the brain can change based on what you practice on. So what they found with this study is that, by the way, driving in London is a nightmare. It's not as orderly as all the other cities like New York and all that with straight lines. So the London taxi drivers have to be extremely good in their spatial type intelligence. So they found they actually developed larger hippocampi than average persons. So they developed that spatial aspect of their brain. Again, there was proof that whatever you do, whatever you choose to do, whatever you focus on, it can actually influence the way you think. So you can influence your happiness strategies by consistently practicing happiness things that we'll talk more about that. Even the Dalai Lama said in the 70s, mere thought can change the brain. That's what the Dalai Lama said in the early 70s. And you know, these people who spend time in the monasteries, who meditate, it's been proven what doing that, it really creates a lot of calm. It actually alters your brain to be a very peaceful and loving person. So these are the things that happen. So I just wanted to put this aside. As you do this, because you can alter your brain for the positive. I can also alter the brain. Cool. Next slide. So why? Because we have almost a global psychosocial problem. I wouldn't like to limit this to Botswana only. Guys, things are really not nice, what's happening there. I haven't seen a family that has not been affected by mental health. And it's not just used to be the older generation, but now it's busy coming down to even younger people. 13-year-olds. I heard in Tamara the other day, a 10-year-old committed suicide. 10-year-old committed suicide. So things are really bad. And the statistics have it. Botswana is amongst the top 10 Africa in terms of suicide rates. Africa tops. You see why I'm interested in this thing is because why do we just sit there when this thing is killing our people? Kind of like you talk politically when it came by teammates. But because I think the academic world is also quiet. And that is why I'm so happy to be here. Because what can we do? Because, you know, the world, any agenda, part of it has to be the academic or the academic affairs has to influence an agenda of any country. So it's very important that as UB, as BUST, as Boto, we also see what we can do about these aspects. UK, suicides, men, there's something going on with men as well. In terms of men versus women, you can see it's 4 times the suicide rate compared to women. Global loneliness, people are lonely, but can you believe that there are people who say they can spend 2 weeks without speaking to anybody? I mean, that's 2 weeks, yes, according to statistics. This is inhuman. And that is why they say loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day in terms of affecting your immune system, in terms of just being that alone. So it's actually in the States, they're about to declare a public health crisis. Remember, these are cities. I mean, when you talk about New York, you're talking 13 million people in one city. But you can be lonely in a city. You can be lonely in a marriage. You can be lonely in let's about 20,000 there. You know, is it 2 years ago we visited, one of my sons go to school in Canada. So we visited him there and then we took him. He's in Ottawa. So then we went to Montreal to visit one of his friends whom they went to school together here. He goes to McGill University. So we went there. They just spent a year at the university. So we're asking him, how are you settling? How are you So everything is good. And McGill is a huge university. So we're saying, and I usually challenge them, Bakaya Banuza. Bakaya Banuza. And he's like, hey, he says, he went to Marapur. So he says, it's much more a challenge. But there are so many girls, but it's more challenging to get a girl than in Marapur where there are few. So it just reminded me of this day where you can be in a crowd, but still be lonely. And that is and then in the States, the mental health crisis is 10 times worse than in the 60s. Can you believe those people that do not have running water were happier than the lot today, even if they are materially better? So this is something that I want us to note and see how we can work on those things. And then also, some of you who watch the podcast, GrowthWell Podcast, Dr. Dima was confirming what a lot of the men, because he really attends to men most of the time, a lot of the men who come to his practice, a lot of the problems are actually not physiological, they're actually mental. And that's why he says he's actually switched. Now he's learning more on the mental side than the physical side. So 60% of global patient consultations are mental health related, which shows that the extent. So this slide is just to prove what you've got a problem. But Houston, we got a problem. Right? All right, cool. And then this thing is not just starting now, guys. Some of you, who does philosophy? Okay, you can tell me about Socrates again. Hey, our new president and Aristotle, okay, so this gentleman here he was renowned not to be the most handsome man at the time, about 300 BC, Socrates. He is one of the people that is renowned to have really questioned about life. What do we live for? And about the Socratic questions again. So he used to say, what is a good life? So this issue of what is a good life is more than 2,500 years old. It's not a new phenomenon. Okay? And my favorite philosopher is Aristotle, who said there is nothing else for existence except a good life. So don't be embarrassed for looking for a good life, baby. So I guess I'm breakdance, and one of the things that I didn't tell you about is because when I was exposed to mental health, we used to, national service, all of you, national service in Botswana. You go out to a village, you're far away from your place, and then we were hosted by one family. So I stayed with another guy. We stayed in the same hut. So we'll cook together, we wake up, what. This guy, sometimes we always wake up in the morning, I don't know what he ate at night. He would just be sour, asking me to go and make the fire outside for the hot water. That's the first time I was exposed to sheer depression. So, later on, I get, what are the depression? Then I started feeling sorry for him. But I used to wonder, sometimes I used just to dodge him because some days he was good. But there were days when he just woke up and his face would just be off and he'd be moody. Some days we'll have to go and share and buy some stuff from the shop and he'll be like, no, it's a mama. You go. Keeps out, what hanana if you say in Afrikaans. So that's the thing what how try and there are people that obviously are like that. So best we can do, there's another, who knows Arthur Schopenhauer? One of my favorite ones, very awkward guy, who usually comes. So he said, the best we can ever do in life is not to be miserable. So these are the guys that thought there's nothing like happiness. So long as you're not miserable, it's cool. So he's, and Nietzsche as well. Nietzsche was also one of these nihilist or very negative guys. Okay, anybody knows Nietzsche? Yeah, baby. Okay, so that subject, and I'll really encourage you to read Aristotle. Obviously, sometimes some of the books are very heavy, but the light versions where he talks about life, about ethics and stuff like that. There's a book called Nicomachean Ethics. Yeah, that's the book to read where he talks about friends, where he talks about what a good life is, the role of government in terms of making life good for everybody. Okay, it goes back to guys like William James. William James is the founder of psychology. We are the psychologists in the house. Did you know that? Yeah, William James, baby. And then he also talked about happiness. By the way, he was not the most happy person, but he talked about happiness. He has actually had bouts of depression. Okay, William James, just like Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, there's a story that he was actually sometimes suicidal, in his life. So you have these people that actually had mental issues, but they still made it through life because they devised strategies to be able to still thrive. Martin Seligman is one of the latest modern day positive psychology people who founded the science of that people can live better lives. He was a therapist for 40 years, and he said, I'm tired of dealing with people who are below zero. Do you know the people who are zero? Those are the depressed. Now he wants to see how he can work on the positive side of life. In other words, if you are okay, if you are a normal person, but not really exciting life. Let's say you are at +2. Can you take it to +5? And he found out that if you take the people from +1 or +2 to +5, chances of them of falling below 0 becomes reduced. So that's how the whole school of positive psychology started. Okay, Professor Mpepeko, I was trying to recruit the university to also focus on positive psychology, because the whole thing of positive psychology is taking the world by storm. There's even a university in Mexico called the University of Happiness. So it's a big thing for universities. When they introduced the happiness course in Harvard, they couldn't fit in the auditoriums. It was the most oversubscribed course ever in Harvard. It was the most oversubscribed course in Yale, because people are trying to find out how to live. That's what one of my favorite philosophers, the guys who read, there's a guy called Elian de Botton. Yeah. Okay, yeah, baby. He says, he's beautiful. He says, we're going to learn how to live and we're going to learn how to die. That's why I'm also getting in touch with issues of death. Like, there's nothing wrong with death. Who reads Stoicism here? Stoicism. Stoicism, yes. Okay. So that's beautiful. That's another philosophical area that's also creating storms around the world. And people like, is it Holiday? He's the one who's written a lot of books about Stoicism. He's really raised the bar in terms of people understanding the whole concept of being a Stoic. So those are the people that. So these are the Jeffrey Sachs, Arthur Brooks. These are the guys that talk a lot about. So what I'm saying here is that I'm not talking about something that has not taken the world by storm, that has got a whole school of thought. The big universities in the world are taking over. London School of Economics, Professor Richard Lillard, he talks about that quite a well, about happiness economics. And it's also in different areas. It's not just in psychology. It's also in economics. There's a happiness aspect in economics, also neuroscience, I think for obvious reasons. I get it. Cool. So how do we define it? They say it's really how you feel, but these are just the two definitions that I'd like you to note. Sonja Lyubomirsky, that's with that definition, is also one of my favorite ladies. He's a professor at the University of Riverside in California. He's a happiness science practitioner, over 20 years doing lab work on happiness. So this is data driven. People can now measure happiness. They can measure whether you are happy or not. They can measure a country, they can measure a province, they can measure a city. And one of the most breakthrough studies that Professor Seligman talked about is how in the states they can tell whether a particular state is going to have higher levels of heart problems or these problems based on their happiness levels. Can you believe that? Huh? No, that's why if I move to the States, I'm going to Utah. Because that's where they have the lowest and they're the happiest. And you know why? Because they are closer to nature. True. And that is why we have such a beautiful country that's got such beautiful nature, and we don't use it. We build this city here with no walking paths, without, green areas. We bring out trees. I mean, I sound so silly, but one of my most depressing moments when that road that leaves Game City going to Boat, like when I get, there was a nice, beautiful motopi tree on the left. Beautiful. Motopi kind of likes doing this, different shapes. Oh, well, it's gone. Just like that. I was like, where are the modern people? Where are the people that know what a tree? I mean, my son used to say when he was young, he used to say, Papa, come on, why do you have to look after trees? No, trees are there because people need to breathe. That's what my son used to say when he was doing his primary school. And it's important to have these things. Right now, on the old Naledi side, they are building houses there. I mean, there were, I think, 3 football grounds, all gone. The trees, all gone. Guys, I'm looking for people that we can be activists on this thing, because it really has to stop. Because, I mean, if you go to Ottawa, if you go to all these big cities, I mean, London, it's got huge green areas. When I visit my friends there, we walk 30 minutes in greenery and trees. I'm saying this because it's been proved what is healthier to live in. It's healthier and happier when you live in an environment like that. It's not just, you just said door. More. Okay, so my favorite one is this concept of eudaimonia. It came from Aristotle, where he said, happiness is just about a sense of flourishing in life. Who feels they are flourishing in life? Hey! Okay. It sounds like 10% of the whole who are flourishing. Okay, because it's very difficult to flourish in today's world. It's extremely tough. So the statistics that I saw are not surprising, because really things are really tough. Next one. Okay, so there is this 13th century priest from Italy called Thomas Aquinas. Who knows Thomas Aquinas? Thomas Aquinas? Oh, okay, so which course are you doing? Criminal justice. XA. Very nice, very nice. So this Thomas Aquinas are those theologians or philosophers who are renowned to have really bedded down the theory of Christianity, that one in the world, similar to Augustine. Augustine, the city of God and the city of man. Okay, so this guy said there are 4 idols that torture man, and these are money, pleasure, power, and prestige. Isn't it amazing how this is so relevant today? This is 13th century. So I call them MP3 so that you can remember them. MP3. And guys, we are not saying there's any problem with money. There's a certain level where money does not add any happiness to your life. In the States, the research has been done that it's actually around $45,000 a year. When you earn more than that, it makes no difference. Guys, we still have eggs. We still go to the same toilet to wee-wee. Chana hell. The eggs are just tasting the same. So this guy said, less about. So the problem with us, because you are coming from very low ground zero levels in terms of poverty, so now money becomes the dominant factor. And I have been a victim of that. In my 30s, I worked too hard at the expense of my family, at the expense of my kids, because I thought with money there will come happiness. Later I found, and then in the meantime, you've lost your relationships. Life is not so cool. I'm not playing enough tennis. The things that I liked. So you got to be careful that you look after. Prestige, what is that? Prestige is all about status. It's about your Instagram. It's about your TikTok, baby. It's about your car, the size of your car, the size of house. When you have a big house, you're like, what am I doing? There are a lot of people who are very depressed and they live in a big car. There's a guy who was Mo Goddard. Who knows Mo Goddard? He was an executive at Google. He's got a very sad story. He actually lost his son a few years ago. So Mo Goddard talks about how he made it through Google to become a chief executive business development or something like that. He had 9 cars. He had a house with 16 rooms. And very early, because in late 20s, he said, hey, what's next? No, he resigned. He's now writing and talking about happiness. He's also got books on happiness. So I'm just saying these guys are teaching us. And let's teach our younger brothers, our younger sisters, we've got to be careful with money. And also, you guys with phones, smart technology is really destroying families. It's destroying people. The level of suicides who are associated, especially for girls, associated with the phone is just scary. The girls that just stick in their rooms and all night status, and because people haven't liked and they get depressed. Who sleeps with their phone next to their musamo, next to their pillows? No, don't be embarrassed. I we're trying to sort out the problem. Yeah. And I'm trying to be smart here. We're all, even the parents join the group. I'm saying you've seen your mom. And your dad. It's a real crisis, guys. And some of you who've seen the documentaries on Facebook, the guys who worked at Facebook and talk about the damage that they knew will happen because of this psychology of getting people to be addicted to their phones. It's a real problem. Okay, we'll talk about it when there's a video where some of students talk about it. So the top myth of happiness is material. And they researched students in terms of predicting their happiness, that those who wanted material wealth actually were a lot more unhappier than those who wanted things more meaningful in life. I mean, for instance, that is why, and I'm sharing these things because I always talk to my sons, I want you guys, because some of us learned the hard way. And some of us actually got sick, so that have more a meaningful life earlier. Have a clear object. If you want to be an entrepreneur like me, have a very clear value that you want to add that's associated with your unique talents. We call those unique abilities. And we'll talk about how you need to know yourself, what your talents are. And when your talents, and you expose them to the world, and they expand, and you make impact, then the money will come. And more. So that is really the essence of entrepreneurship. So material, and because I'm talking to university students, beauty. Guys, again, research, Bosonja, Labomiski are talking about how people have been disappointed because they thought because they're beautiful, they will be happy. Just to be disappointed. A huge industry of beauty. Bottle what? Hey, it's taking, in South Africa, it's big business. I'm sure even Botswana crossed the border to go do the stuff. Guys, there's a story in one of the books that I talk about, where this lady went for Ibidwang, where they do changeover. He did a changeover, makeup changeover. He almost divorced his husband. He was now a celebrity. Everything was one. And then one day he just crashed. He said, what the heck am I doing? And he found that he was becoming unhappier and happier. And just like he found himself before he separated with his husband. Because that's how sad it is. So beauty will not give you, they say, when you are a happy person, you see beauty in yourself. Isn't that lovely? Yeah. Hallelujah. Hey, yeah, baby. Don't you see those people? Well, I get people judge, Because these days they like saying, Papa or Uncle or judge. Hey, I'm just saying what I'm seeing. No, there's this theory of judging. We've seen people where you say, this person is in the textbook, he's not really attractive. But the way they handle themselves, it's like they don't even see they're not attractive. Because they've got the spirit and they're happy. They actually become attractive because of how they posture themselves to the world. Isn't that amazing? Cool. Next one. I touched on this a little bit earlier, Hore. It's not about the people who are depressed. And I've got to qualify, guys, Hore, what the strategy I'm going to talk about this evening is not about addressing clinical depression. If you have a problem, see the relevant authorities or the therapies where you need cognitive, whatever therapies. See, this one is there to augment and to help, even if you are not depressed, to make sure that you stay away from the depression line. But if you are depressed, these strategies can only help you. So I just want to make sure I qualify that. So you might just be seeing a normal person, but you are struggling to find joy in your life. You are struggling to find meaning in your life. And you're struggling to find stimulating relationships in your life. And the spirit today is that, can we refine those things? Can we identify them and find them? Just as easy. Martin Seligman, the gentleman that I talked about, he used to be the president of the American Psychology Association as well. And he's regarded as the father of psychology. So he experimented with deeply depressed people and did some simple exercises. What he asked them to do, these are people who are struggling to get out of bed. He asked them to just complete a gratitude journal every day. Just to write 3 things that are grateful for every day. You won't believe it. After 15 days of doing that, the depression levels of these people had reduced from severe to moderate. And 94% of them had actually gotten better or gotten relief just from that intervention. So these guys are actually doing the science. It's not just the wara. Guys, we say, and I like it because I think President Duma talked about it the other day, when you read books and critique them. Once you critique them, have your position and write about your position. Africans, we think everybody that these guys have written is hallelujah. It's not. So what I did about happiness, I said, let me start my own happiness formula. So I've come up with a formula called JoyRep. Those who listen to the GrowthWell podcast will have, or I do the the Gaps FM every Wednesday at 5:15. I talk about happiness, and I've unpacked the JoyRep formula to the public to understand what it is. But basically, this now changes the formula from saying for you to be successful in life, you have to be happy first. Interesting, because when we recruit at InnoLead, we check if you are happy first. Because if you're not happy, you're going to be a problem. The more, you're going to be a problem. You think InnoLead is going to make you happy. And what I'm trying to do for you here is to hack, to make sure that you are happy already. Don't go there and burden your team members by wanting emotional burdens. Guys, I'm not happy today and all that. That happiness is an inside job. Remember, it comes from the internal operating system that's sitting inside your consciousness. That's where it resides. If it's not there, check it. Check yourself. So the first thing with JoyRep, the first one is joy, which is that J there. The joy means that, please, let's find the vibe that used to be there in our African culture. Africans like joy. Joy is not just joy, and fun are not there for fun. They are there because it's a human need to thrive. It's part of that internal operating system that when you have the fun, when you are playing with your grandkids, after playing with them and you write a book, you'll be shocked. Remember, just because of that positive emotions that come up with. So fun, playfulness, ecstasy, comfort, they call it happyology. There's a whole book I've got here that we want to read by Catherine Rice. He writes about how we've got to find our vibe again. And I always say Africans are fun people. We like the beat, we like dancing, we like laughing. And people say the Nigerians like laughing and all. And now because we want to copy the West, we are now becoming soberized. Even our businesses are supposed to be stuffy. You know, at InnoLead, we jive. I jive with the team on Friday afternoons. Because I know that it's just going to make them better performance on Monday. Weekend. That one. So joy comes first, because joy comes from inside. So please, guys, don't forget how to have fun. Because that kills your soul. Then you become, boring, stuffy, angry, wara type individual. Okay? And I'm saying this because you can actually find fun. For me, it's not fun for you. So you got to find what ticks for you. That's where now showing up comes in. So show up in different areas. Golf. Because I've never been on the golf course. But that's the only thing that has eluded me. I don't know why. Because I'm active sports. When I'm about soccer, basketball, tennis. By the way, yesterday I ran 21 kilometers. Who was there at the marathon? Who was there? You did? How many Ks? Oh, volunteer. Okay, we found the volunteer. Who ran? 10, 5, 21, baby. Yeah. And you? You did 10. Okay, no 42 here. Okay, we'll talk about health. But health is another subject that we can do next time, because the subject by itself. So guys, joy. And yesterday it was beautiful because I went for a run. I ran with my friend. This is the friend, but even when we were here at UB, he was a very close friend of mine. We started a fun club called Happening. When we are here at UB, it's a group of guys that used to host parties and break dance and do these things. We used to make money, hosting parties, go airport sport and all that. It used to be and interestingly, we're doing sciences. So we'll work hard, but weekend there will be fun. We make sure we rest and we hit the books. And most of them are doctors, are what and all that. So it was with my friend that we ran together yesterday for the whole 21 kilometers. Well, he left me something, but he did very well. I was very happy for him. Remember, there are two types of friends. There's what are the two friends types? Okay, there are two types of friends. And remember, this friendship category comes from Aristotle. He says there is what you call a true friend and a dear friend. A dear friend is the one that you study with. In other words, we're just saying, is the one that you are in business with, is the worker, the one at church, the one that you hang around. And it's because you are getting something from that friend. That's why it's a dear friend. Remember, that's a dear friend. And then a true friend is someone that you love. Come rain or shine. So yesterday, my friend, he was He finished the 21 in 2 hours, 1 minute. I finished in 2 hours, 9 minutes. So he was faster. You know what made me good? What made me feel good? It's because I was happy. We were so happy. It made me happy. I'm jealous. I'm grumpy. Whatever I am. But that's how close we are with this friend of mine. And I can tell you, friendship. Okay, let me ask you one question. There are 2 things that research has shown that those activities, if you do them, they've been rated across many nations as the happiest moments in life. What are those? What are those? The things that when you do, people have said, this is the happiest I've been. Emma? Baby dancing? Okay, dancing was not in the list. Sex, baby! You know, then I was wondering why is sex so high in the happiness list? Why do you think so? It's natural. Dancing is also, we can say, is natural. Why is it so hot? You what? You climax. Hey, subjects. Those who are asleep are waking up now. Okay, Emma.
It's something to psychology that they think the climate you both up.
Okay. We're getting very academic here. Who else wants to try? The last one before I try. Emma?
The ladies because it needs to be something that is, something that encourages you to do it all the time so that
Don't be shy. By the world's mice? The world multiplies. Hey. Yeah, okay. Yo, that's heavy. Yeah?
I think
Okay, louder because they need to hear you at the back.
I think it's because that is where your one of your raw emotions, like you're not angry, you're not thinking too much, you are actually in the raw of the moment and you're letting everything else go.
That's very close to my theory. It's because it's the only process that when you do, you are totally in the presence. Isn't that amazing? Hey, I keep wailing. Yes, but research has been done for out of the things, human beings suffer from what they call wandering. Your wandering thought. And out of the things that people don't wonder, sex scored the least when the mind does not wander. And I think that is why it is scored. Okay, another one. So singing. Singing is beautiful. It says singing. Okay, another? Walking and talking to friends. That's very true. The other top activity that people rank as the happiest is when they are with their friends. Isn't that amazing? Who has a friend? Not a deal friend. Eh? Okay, you got friends. True friends. That's lovely. Guys, keep them. Guys, the world is so bad that there are people now that are being coached how to make friends. There are people that don't know how to make friends anymore. I mean, we've got all the science, all the technologies, but people are being taught how to make friends. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's really, really, and like you said, in terms of relationships, one of the best things, and by the way, I have to mention this because they're quite important. So the third thing was family. Okay, family, very important. But you are quite surprised that family came after friends. Eh? Ladumel? Yeah. It's relative. Let's say it's relative. I get yes, it's because family scored very high. Okay, now tell me, out of the people that you spend time with or the activity, which is the least that scored the least? But you guys might not get it because you're not workers. But I'm giving you a hint. Huh? Time with the boss. Isn't that interesting? Time with the boss and also commuting. They're the lowest rating in terms of time. People hate commuting. Traffic. And unfortunately, it's a global problem. Yeah. So commuting and time with the boss. Time with the boss is the problem because it just shows the type of leaders that we have. So that's joy. And then the next one is healthy human connections. Guys, if there's a talk that I can give, is anything that will make a difference to your life, is healthy human connection. And it's all talking to Botu. It all goes back to your family, to your friends, to community. And it's talking to the hyper-individualistic behaviors that we have today. We've adopted things from the West that are destructive to our own being, which is this hyper-individualistic behavior that is made worse by the phone, that is made worse by thinking that you can succeed by yourself alone. Remember, so social connections is the heaviest lever if you want to pull something. So connect with your friend that you haven't for many years. Connect with your cousin. I mean, one of the things that I'm doing these days is calling my nieces and saying, guys, we need to go out for a date. Connect with your nephew. You know, reach out to a cousin that you haven't called for a long time. I mean, we grew up, we played with our cousins. I have very good cousins in Johannesburg because my mother came from South Africa, by the way. So I have cousins there that when I'm in trouble with the people around here, can have a call. Isn't that special? I've called my cousin. So the important thing about human connection is that the big question is, when you are tight or in trouble, do you have someone else that can support you holistically and heartily? That is the essence. So human connection. So it's joy, and then human connections, and the next one is E, which is engagement. Human beings need to engage in an occupation that is aligned to your unique abilities, to your signature strengths. I resigned from corporate because I found that I like reading, I like new frontiers of knowledge, and the corporate that I worked for did not accommodate that sphere of me. So what did I do? Even though I had a very nice job, I was a manager, I had a nice house, 4-bedroom house that has a carpet, but I just, they gave me 2 48 cylinders of gas every month. So how no readjustment? But because that did not align to who I am, I made the call. That's another thing about life. Guys, make the call. You know, there's a book that says how to quit. You know, how to quit, as in positively. People get stuck in things that do not talk to them, and they make reasons why they can't quit. You got to learn how to quit. And I when I look at my life, there are areas where I had to quit, and I actually did quit, to the disappointment of many people. Okay, so you got to find that occupation, which you get into what the state of flow. Some of you know what flow is. This whole flow by Csikszentmihalyi. You know Csikszentmihalyi? This is a gentleman who wrote the book called. The book is called. All right. His book is called Flow. Ne? He talks about this essence of being caught up in something that you love so much that even time stops. That is the level of flow. When I'm here like this, when I'm supposed to spend 1 hour with you, the way I have to manage myself because I can do 3 hours because I love what I'm doing. So that is state of flow. So in life, I believe if you have a unique talent, and that's why God has made this so brilliant. Everybody is unique as they got their own defined talent. You got your own IP. So you got to find a room where you can let it out. Okay? So that's important. So occupation, that's the E. The last one is purpose. And the book that I can recommend there is a book by Viktor Frankl. Who knows Viktor Frankl? What's the name of the book? Yeah, Man's Search for Meaning. Beautiful book. The gentleman who spent 4 years in the Holocaust under the Nazis, lost his family in those camps, wife, mother, everybody. But because he had meaning, he managed to survive the Holocaust. He even died at 97, some years ago, at 97 years old, with all the stress that he had. So man's thing. So the whole thing is that in life, have a sense of what you live for. Live for something bigger than yourself. And this is the other thing, this obsession with self. Why when this individualistic behavior, you got to break it and understand what there are bigger things happening out there. And that is the sense of purpose. And think about your purpose. There are a lot of stuff in the internet that teaches you how to write or imagine your purpose. So grab it, write it down, and understand that it will lead your life. Your sense of purpose is different. It could be being a very top Christian or thing where you are very God driven, or it could be you're an environmentalist who likes to make sure that everything is done in a way that's green. Anyhow, it's up to you. So that is JoyRep, Batubets. So through this JoyRep, it gives you true success. In other words, holistic success. Where that success, you got good relationships, you got meaning in life, you're having a little bit of fun, and you have an occupation. That takes, for me, that's a complete human being.